Welcome to this session on securing, scaling, and sustaining your data estate in Microsoft Fabric. I'm Kim Manis, Corporate Vice President of Product of the Microsoft Fabric platform. We all know AI is changing the world. It's enabling everyone to move faster than ever, whether it's data professionals who are implementing code faster than ever, analysts and data citizens who are spending less time finding the data and more time getting into the deep analysis, and line of business users who can go and ask and answer their own questions without the need of an analyst for help. And this is all great, but that broad data access and generative AI, it does bring additional risk, increased risky behavior, increased risk of data breaches. And often security professionals are feeling like that security and data culture, they seem in conflict. And achieving those goals, they can feel diametrically opposed, whether it's fostering a data culture by driving broad access to data and securing your data and making sure it's governed and people are doing the right things with the data. And this is really where Microsoft Fabric comes in. Microsoft Fabric allows you to foster a data-driven culture through automated, repeatable, and governed data development in Fabric. And you can give broad access through a single discoverable data catalog with the OneLake catalog that's accessible everywhere your business users and your developers work, whether it's Teams, Excel, Foundry, and more. And this is great because it's easy to discover the data, find what you're looking for, ask and answer your own questions. But with that comes security and making sure your data is governed and secure, whether it's through isolating your sensitive data with always-on network security and managing data access centrally at the item, folder, row, column level, and being able to govern your data and capacity centrally. So this allows you to give broad access to everyone in your organization who needs data, while making sure they only see what they're supposed to see, and they're only accessing the data the way they're supposed to access it. And Microsoft Fabric is a complete end-to-end data platform covering the whole gamut of tools, all the way from databases, data integration, to our newest capabilities with Fabric IQ. And today we're really going to focus on the admin and governance space and how we're enabling all of these workloads with key admin and governance capabilities. And Fabric has all the tools to support every user engaged in Fabric when it comes to governance, whether it's the Fabric tenant admins, the capacity and workspace admins, or the data and AI developers. So let's kick it off by talking about the Fabric tenant admins. And tenant admins have a ton to do, and as we talked about, a lot to worry about when it comes to governance and security. Let's take a look at a demo to see the day in the life of a tenant admin.
Okay, everyone, let's start with the admin experience. And I gotta tell you, this is one of my favorite things to show people. So picture this. You're a Microsoft Fabric admin. You've got hundreds, maybe thousands of items in your tenant. People are building lake houses, creating reports, connecting data from everywhere. And your job, make sure it's all secure, compliant, and actually usable. That's a tall order, right? Well, here's where it gets good. My day starts here in the OneLake catalog on the Govern tab. And look at this. I land on this page and immediately I can see the health of my entire tenant. And I'm not digging through 5 different portals. I'm not hunting for settings. It's all right here. Insights, recommended actions, and quick access to every management tool I need. How cool is that? Now check this out. I've got 2 recommended actions waiting for me. The first one is telling me, hey, your sensitivity labels aren't applied broadly enough. That means there are items out there that might not have the protection your organization requires. The second one says you should improve data curation with tags. These aren't just alerts. These are actionable recommendations. Microsoft Fabric is literally coaching you on how to become a better admin. I love this. Before I jump on that sensitivity label recommendation, I want to understand the full picture. So I click View More. And now I'm looking at the governance report. And this is where it gets really interesting because I can see 3 key areas. First, my data estate, domains, capacities, feature usage. Second, security and compliance, sensitivity labels for Microsoft Purview, and data loss prevention policies, or DLP. Finally, trust and reuse, data freshness, how well things are curated, and what's being shared. This is the 360-degree view every admin has been asking for. Now here's where I'm going to blow your mind a little bit. I'm going to open up Copilot and just ask, which domains has the most unlabeled items? Boom. It tells me it's the sales domain. Of course. I didn't have to run a report. I didn't have to export to Excel and do a pivot table. I just asked, are you kidding me? This is powerful. All right, so now I know the sales domain is where the gap is. I go back to my recommended action, review the steps, and here's what I love. Microsoft Fabric has built-in features to handle this. I don't need a third-party tool. I don't need a custom script. I activate the default sensitivity label policy at the domain level, and because I've delegated the settings, domain owners can fine-tune it for their own context. I pop into the sales domain settings, set the appropriate label, and just like that, every new item created in this domain is automatically protected. Let me say that again, automatically protected, no user action required. That is huge. Now for my second recommendation, tags. I'd heard about tags before, but I hadn't set them up yet. So let's do it right now live. I created a few tags for organization-wide use, plus some specific ones for sales. And now, every user in my organization can apply these tags to their items and workspaces. This makes everything more discoverable, more organized, and more trustworthy. So let's just step back for a second. What just happened? The OneLake catalog gave me governance insights, told me exactly what to fix, showed me unused capabilities I wasn't taking advantage of, and gave me direct links to go fix everything. This is an admin's best friend. I'm not even exaggerating.
The OneLake catalog provides a one-stop shop for tenant admins to go and see everything they need to see to govern their entire tenant. In the OneLake Catalog Govern tab, you can gain insights on items, workspaces, capacities, domains, and you can chat with Copilot to dig deeper into the insights and find out what's really going on in your tenant. And now you can take action in place in the Govern tab by reviewing and fixing recommended updates directly in the catalog. The OneLake Catalog also allows you to implement a data estate in a flexible federated data mesh. You can define domains, subdomains, workspaces, and then you can implement these tenant-wide settings and delegate control to the admins of those domains or workspaces or capacities, really allowing you to curate your governance posture depending on the workload and depending on the parts of the organization, and you have a ton of flexibility there. Fabric goes hand in hand with Purview's data security capabilities. Here, you can use Purview information protection labels and Purview data loss prevention policies to really secure not just your data estate, but your entire Microsoft estate, because these capabilities work side by side with Office. So if something's marked highly confidential in Fabric, if you export that data to Excel, that highly confidential label flows with it. And this now joins with the Purview Insider Risk Management capabilities and Purview Data Security Posture Management that allows you to fully audit what's going on in your organization and even see risky usage of Copilot, including Copilot in Power BI and Fabric data agents. Fabric also allows you to meet the strictest data residency requirements across the globe, available in many regions, across many data centers, and all the certifications you need, both regional and industry specific. Okay, let's switch gears. We talked about tenant admins. Now let's talk about capacity and workspace admins. And these are the folks that are often in charge of the project and getting things done hands-on with the developers. So let's take a look at the day in the life of a capacity admin in Microsoft Fabric.
It's December, year-end close. Every query matters. And somewhere in marketing, someone just kicked off a monster report across 3 years of data. The CFO's dashboard is about to crawl. Guess who gets the call? So I open the admin portal, head to the capacity settings, and click into my production capacity. First layer of defense, workspace level surge protection. I'm capping every ad hoc reporting workspace at 25% of the capacity. Marketing can still run their reports. They just can't eat the whole buffet. I also flip on capacity level surge protection, which rejects background operations above the threshold, keeping room for the interactive reports that actually matter right now. But the sales workspaces, those are different. I mark them as mission critical. That means they're exempt from the surge cap. They get whatever capacity they need because year-end close doesn't wait for anyone. Now I need a safety valve. I enable capacity overage and set a 24-hour rolling CU limit. If sales needs to spike beyond our capacity during crunch time, it can. No throttling, no angry CFO. But Protection without visibility is just a hope. So I open the real-time hub, select capacity overview events, and set an alert. I name the rule pick summary events, and I add a filter when the interactive delay threshold hits 90%. Fire a Teams message. That's it. A few clicks, and I've got real-time eyes on my capacity. Before the dashboard spins, before the phone rings, before anyone even knows there's a problem. 4 layers, noisy neighbors capped, crown jewels protected, overflow valve set. Real-time eyes on the whole thing. The CFO's dashboards, it never even blinked.
There's a ton of new capabilities when it comes to capacity administration and how you can govern both with proactive guardrails and reactive monitoring. And so definitely you want to check out the new surge protection capabilities, including marking workspaces now as mission critical to make sure they don't get throttled. Capacity overage allows you to spike up above your capacity spend for excess consumption. Say you have a quarterly report running, or you want to make sure this specific workspace never gets throttled. Capacity overage is your option there. And then capacity events in the real-time hub allow you to know what's going on in your capacity in real time and set up triggers and actions. And you can dive deeper with the capacity metrics and chargeback apps that allow you to know everything going on in your capacity and really identify root causes and inform capacity planning. And if you need more, we have this awesome Fabric Capacity Guidance white paper that gives you everything you need to know about capacities and how to manage and monitor them. Okay, so we talked about capacities. Now let's talk about workspace admins and see what capabilities we have for them to secure their workspaces end-to-end in Fabric.
As Ava, we start with identity. Entra conditional access policies ensure only managed devices can reach this workspace. Not on a company-approved device, you don't get in. Simple, decisive. Inside the workspace, roles define what you can do. Megan is a contributor. She can create and delete items. David is a viewer, read only, the right access for the right person at the right level. Now, I could go further. Inbound networking lets me block public access entirely and restrict connections to our corporate IP range through the firewall. But honestly, conditional access plus workspace roles already gives me a strong balance of security and usability. So I'll keep the default inbound access for now. Where it gets serious is outbound. I enable outbound access protection, which blocks every outgoing connection from this workspace. Nothing leaves unless I say so. Then I open the doors I trust, a connector rule for our sales aggregation pipeline to reach order data in Azure, and a managed private endpoint for a partner storage account with currency conversion rates. This is active only after the storage account owner approves it. Now watch. A user tries to connect the notebook to a personal storage account, maybe copying some data somewhere it shouldn't go. Fabric blocks it. No warning, no negotiation, just no. Conditional access, workspace roles, outbound protection, 3 layers, identity, permissions, and network. And the data never leaves the building. That's not a policy document. That's a platform.
We have all the capabilities you need to secure your data estate with Microsoft Fabric. At the tenant level, you can use Microsoft Entra to authenticate every inbound request using all available data points, like identity, location, device, and risk detection. Or for specific scenarios, you can use Azure Private Link to send traffic over Microsoft's own private network. And of course, everything is encrypted and secured by default in Fabric. However, we've heard from customers that you need more granular control at the workspace level, project by project, to make sure you're securing your data appropriately for the project at hand. And that's why we have workspace level security for all of the capabilities you need, whether it's outbound trusted workspace access, Azure Private Link, outbound access protection, customer managed keys, workspace level IP firewall rules. All of these capabilities are generally available and allow you to give the granularity you need and the security levels you need for each of the different projects going on in Fabric. Okay, so we already talked about Fabric tenant admins and capacity and workspace admins. Now let's switch gears and talk about data and AI developers and how they can take advantage of the governance capabilities in Fabric. And automating developer workflows are critical for governance. You need to make sure you reduce manual configurations, and you don't want humans in the loop creating issues that you could automate. And you need visibility into what is going on to make sure you can audit everything. And inconsistent processes are really hard to enforce. And again, this is where automation around those developer workloads really help you make sure that every project is following best practices. And Fabric's promise to developers are simple. We rely on consistent open formats, making sure your data is your data. Developers need access to scriptable APIs. They need automation for provisioning through tools like Terraform. We need to make collaboration simple through Git-based source control. And then, of course, whether you're developing in the UI through low friction navigation and built-in experiences, or through agents in your AI tool of choice, we need to make sure that agentic development is simple and obvious with Microsoft Fabric. So now let's take a look at the day in the life of the data developer setting up a new project in Fabric.
Let's provision a complete Fabric analytics project with a single pipeline run. Everything's parameterized: workspace name, capacity, auth method, storage. Configure what you need and run. The pipeline starts with a Terraform plan, cleaning up prior state and showing exactly what it will create. It pauses for manual approval. You review the full plan before anything gets created and then resume. The Terraform Fabric provider creates 12 resources: workspaces, identity, storage connections, Git sync, all as code. Now the Fabric CLI steps in, patching notebooks, building the direct lake model, and publishing the environment. Copy jobs pull data from ADLS into the Bronze Lakehouse. Notebooks transform it to silver, and shortcuts link the tables across lakehouses. Medallion architecture, fully automated. And now the pipeline is done. Let's see the results. 11 items. The full stack. Lakehouses to reports. Nothing created manually. Here's the full lineage: ingestion to transformation to reporting. The semantic model connects to Silver through Direct Lake, querying the lakehouse directly, no import step. And in the Silver Lakehouse, tables and data ready to query. Infrastructure, data, analytics, all from one pipeline run. That's the whole story. Full automation with Fabric.
Developers have a lot to deal with, and in Fabric, we really want to make it simple. Whether it's how you set up the project through automation with tools like Terraform, the developer workflow, just making it easier to jump from dev to test to prod, to collaborate with your coworkers. And when you deploy to production, making it simple to automate that deployment so that you can reliably deploy quality code. And then, of course, monitoring and operating that code in production so that you know what's going on and you can monitor everything in the system. So now let's take a look at the life of a data engineer and how they can use the OneLake catalog to discover all the data they need and curate it for their organization.
I'm so excited about this one. I'm a data engineer now. My name is, well, it doesn't matter, but my job is critical. I'm responsible for curating trusted data that hundreds of analysts, business users, and this is the important part, AI experiences all rely on. Let me be real with you. My job is not just about building pipelines. That's part of it, sure. But the real job, making sure the right data can be found, understood, and trusted before anyone touches it. If you're a data engineer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I start in the OneLake catalog, the single place where I discover and govern my entire data estate. And look at what we're seeing here. This spans everything my organization works with. Lakehouses, mirrored data from Azure and Snowflake, warehouses, SQL databases, semantic models, pipelines, even organizational apps, all in one place. No more swivel chairing between portals. No more, where did that data set go? This is it. Now, discovery starts with business intent. And I love that phrase because it's so true. I'm not searching randomly. I'm going to the sales domain, scoping down to the EMEA subdomain, and look at that. I see the domain branding, the description. I instantly know I'm in the right business context. From here, I can filter by endorsements, tags, and workspaces. I'm zeroing in on only the trusted, relevant data. No noise, just signal. Let me show you what any item looks like up close. And it's gorgeous, by the way. Key metadata is right there, front and center. Descriptions, tags, owners, endorsements, sensitivity labels. Remember that default sensitivity label that the admin set up earlier? That's flowing through right here, automatically applied. The admin did their job, and now I benefit from it. And oh, if a description is missing, one click, Copilot generates it for me. So analysts can understand exactly what they're looking at without sending me a message on Teams asking, hey, what's in that table? We've all gotten that message, right? No more. Now let's ground this in something real. It's the end of the year. The sales team is finalizing revenue numbers, and I'm the data engineer who needs to make sure the customer data is ready for consumption before year close deadline. Pressure's on. Let's go. I search for orders and immediately narrow the list to sales own order data. Easy. Now I see more than one item called orders. And if you've worked in a real data estate, you know this happens all the time. So which one is the real one? I open the details pane and look at this. I can see it's connected to the production deployment pipeline. That tells me this isn't some test copy someone forgot to delete. This is the real asset flowing to production. I can see the full metadata and the data schema all the way down to the column level. No guesswork. And then I open the lineage view, and this is where it all comes together. I can see the sensitivity label is inherited from the source. Protection flows downstream automatically through the lakehouse, through the semantic models, all the way into the reports. I'm not guessing at the downstream impact. I could see it clearly. That gives me confidence to make changes because I know exactly what's affected. As a data engineer, I review everything, set up proper descriptions, and I can certify this asset. Now it's discoverable. Now the sales team can rely on it with confidence. And if you want to zoom out, the Govern tab is there for me as a data owner too. It shows me the completeness and compliance of everything I own, where descriptions are missing, where trust signals are weak, and what I should do next. It's like having a governance checklist that updates itself. One more thing before I hand this off. Before I promote this lakehouse to the end users, I always check security. Always. In the Secure tab, I can see exactly who has access, which roles, which users, which groups, all the way down to specific tables and columns. For the year-end close, sales needs broad access to order data. They can see everything except for one column that contains customer social security numbers. I deliberately excluded that using column level security via OneLake security. Think about that. Broad access for productivity, granular protection for compliance. You get both. That's the sweet spot. So where are we? The data is ready. It's discoverable, governed, and trusted. Now it can be used by data scientists, analysts, business users, and by Copilot and AI agents that need trusted data to generate reliable answers. That's foundation, and it's solid. Okay, last set of demos. And honestly, this might be the one that gets the biggest reaction because everything we've built, the governance, the trust signals, the security, it doesn't just live inside Microsoft Fabric. It goes everywhere. The OneLake catalog is integrated into more than 100 places across Microsoft Fabric and Office, Microsoft Teams, Excel, Microsoft Copilot Studio, and more. Users find and analyze data from the tools they already use. And here's the beautiful part. The governance travels with it. When I use OneLake catalog in Excel, I can only see the data I'm allowed to see based on my access permissions and my organization's DLP rules. When I connect to the sales orders lakehouse, I connect only to the data I'm authorized to access based on that OneLake security we just set up. Same rules, same protection, different tool. That's how it should work. And it doesn't stop in the UI. The same catalog is accessible through public APIs and MCP. Watch this. I'm in Visual Studio Code using an LLM powered app, and I just ask in natural language, what sales related lakehouses does Zava have? And it comes back with the results. From the same trusted catalog, same governance, same security, whether it's a person searching in Excel or an AI agent querying through an API, the same governed truth is discoverable and usable everywhere. Folks, this is what it looks like when governance isn't bottleneck. It's an accelerator. Your admins set the guardrails, your data engineers build trust, and then every user, every app, every AI agent in your organization benefits from it. That is the power of OneLake catalog in Microsoft Fabric. And I could not be more excited about where things are going.
The OneLake catalog is the trusted data catalog for over 240,000 organizations worldwide. And the OneLake catalog really consists of three key pillars. We have unified data discovery, making it easy to find the data no matter where you work, whether it's in Power BI, Excel, Fabric, Foundry, and more. And we have built-in governance, as we talked before, not just for the tenant admins, but for any data owner. And of course, zero trust protection with the Secure tab, where you can set up those security rules centrally for OneLake. And it applies regardless of which engine you're using to get the job done. And now we have enhanced support for tables and columns when you're exploring data, allowing you to reveal the underlying data schema for any data item stored in Fabric. And you can preview the data right in line in the catalog and take quick actions just from there. Okay, so we talked a lot about the experience in Fabric, but what about an AI developer in Foundry leveraging the data to build agents? Let's take a look at what the new capabilities are with Fabric in Foundry.
Most organizations already have a huge amount of valuable unstructured data sitting in SharePoint. That includes business documents, PDFs, and of course, Excel files. The challenge is that this content often contains some of the most important business context, but is usually disconnected from analytics and AI. Now, moving over to my lakehouse in Microsoft Fabric, I can bring all of that data together in one lake. Here, my unstructured SharePoint files can live alongside my structured data. And because I'm using OneLake shortcuts, the files are virtualized into place. There is no copy, no data movement, and no extra duplication to manage. I can also unify this with data from other sources, including multi-cloud data from S3 NetApp files that are network protected, or from Azure Blob Storage, where I have my customer support transcripts. So instead of creating another data silo, OneLake gives me one logical data layer across my organization's data. Now I want to use this data to build an AI agent. In Microsoft AI Foundry, I can use knowledge to index this context and make it available for grounding. This indexing step is important because it turns raw files into searchable, retrievable knowledge that the agent can use to answer questions with the right business context. As part of Foundry Knowledge, OneLake Catalog is natively integrated. Here, I can search across available data, see what has been endorsed in my organization, and use signals like sensitivity labels to understand which data is trusted and ready to use. This lakehouse is promoted, so I know it is intended for broader use and is ready to power AI experiences. From here, I can directly add this OneLake knowledge source to my agent. And now I can start asking business questions like, what are my best-selling products and how can I improve my sales? That is the value of bringing OneLake, Fabric, and Foundry together. You can connect to business data where it already lives, unify structured and unstructured data without copying it, discover trusted data through the OneLake catalog, and use it natively in Foundry to build grounded AI agents.
So you just saw in that demo the OneLake catalog just built into Foundry. And the OneLake catalog is built into hundreds of other applications, including many of the products we know and love in Office, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, as well as Copilot Studio for building agents there as well. And in that demo, you saw the OneLake catalog just built into Foundry. So now agent developers can discover the data they have access to. And again, all that role level security, all those governance policies that you set up in Fabric apply in Foundry as well. So we covered a lot here across the governance, security, and capacity spectrum in Fabric, and there's a lot more to learn. So check out these links. And I highly recommend the Fabric Security White Paper. It's a very long paper, but one recommendation I always give is put that in Copilot, and then you can ask lots of questions and get your answers on everything to do with Fabric security. Thank you so much, and super excited to see what you build with this.